වඳින්නෙමු වඩන්නෙමු වවන්නෙමු මේ පිළිනයෙන් සදා මව්බිමට බැඳෙන්නෙමු
වන උයන් මල් උයන් පල උයන් විසිතුරුය
සිසිලසින් වන පොවන මද පවන පිරිතුරුය පරිසරය රැගෙන දුරු සුබාදම සුමිතුරුය
තණ්හාව ආසාව පොදි බඳින්නේ රටේ වන සම්පතට ඇයි පොරොව නගන්නේ
සුබාදම කිපුණුදා සත්වද මෙනසින්නේ පරිසරය රකින්නේ මුළු රට නැරකින්නේ
වසන සත සිතෙහි මෙත බැවේවා ගහ කොළට පවායම මෙත් සිසිල දැනේවා
තව රෝග සම්පතින් සතට සිත සැදේවා අපේ හුස්මෙන් පවා පරිසරය නිවේවා අපේ හුස්මෙන් පවා පරිසරය
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome you warmly to our World Environment Day celebration. So in commemoration of World Environment Day on the 5th of June, every year we would be celebrating on June 5th. We have this collaborative initiative together with INSEE, Biodiversity Sri Lanka and University of Colombo BEEZ. We've been doing this for the past couple of years. This year, as an apt, we thought we would join virtually for this virtual dialogue on celebrating biodiversity. So as we know, the World Economic Forum's Global Risks Report 2020, that biodiversity loss is one of the greatest risks being posed to humankind in the current circumstances, and its impacts can be devastating to the extent that not only national economies, but even the global economy could fail. So the importance of it, we all know. That is why this year, biodiversity has been the important topic, and Colombia, in partnership with Germany, is a host country this year, highlighting the fact that with 1 million species facing extinction in the world, now it is the most important time to call for action and act together for nature. So today's forum, we have our eminent panelists with us. Together with them, before we move into the panelists and the speakers, we want to introduce about this forum. So we have our Vice Chancellor from University of Colombo, Professor Chandrika Vijayratna. She was unable to take part today live, but she has shared her video message introducing her and the objective of University of Colombo supporting this initiative. I'd like to share her message with you all now.
A very good afternoon to you. On behalf of the University of Colombo, I welcome each and every one of you to this very important webinar to commemorate the World Environment Day 2020. And I'm extremely proud and happy that our own young girls and boys from the Faculty of Science, who form the BEEZ, the base for enthusiasts of environmental science and zoology of our own university, have partnered with their patron member to take the theme forward for this year, biodiversity. My sincere apologies that I cannot be there live with you in person, since this webinar coincides with the meeting of the supreme body of our university, the council, right on that very day. I'm sure that you would have very rich and rewarding deliberations from which our own students can contribute to the University of Colombo being able to take forward some of these important aspects of biodiversity in its initiatives that have been ably led by this very department over the past few years. I'm sure that the young bees, as they are called, would be able to take the message further forward in their own careers and particularly to society as they move on in life and career. So thank you very much for letting me speak for a few minutes, and I wish you all the very best and stay safe. Thank you.
So we thank University of Colombo team who have shared the message from Vice Chancellor today here with us. And to introduce the objective behind this collaborative initiative and why World Environment Day is such an important topic for INSEE, I'd like to invite INSEE Chairman, CEO, Mr. Nandana Ekanayaka, to share a few words.
Thank you, Sudashini. Hope you all can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone again. And also I would like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to make the introduction speech in this occasion. As you know, every year that we celebrate the World Environment Day with a meaningful topic and in a meaningful way. INSEE, as a leading cement manufacturer in the country, is always committed to build a better future for our people in Sri Lanka. As you all know, cement has been one of the main industries which supports the global economic development, as the growing urbanization creates a higher demand for cement all over the world. Also, all of you know that cement production process also requires quite a lot of natural resources. And therefore, as a reasonable and responsible industry, we have focused on sustainable development and through that contributing to create a low carbon future. Probably we'll hear a lot of details later on. So when you ask this question, how the cement industry can contribute to a low carbon future, I can give you a couple of examples how we do it. You know that the cement, the main component of cement is clinker, which is a burnt limestone. In that process, generally you emit quite a lot of carbon dioxide. So one way of reducing the carbon dioxide emission or improving the environmental impact of manufacture of cement is to reduce your clinker component. So in Sri Lanka, I think for the first time, if you look at our product portfolio, more than 80% of our products are basically blended because we are reducing the clinker component and introduce certain byproducts of other industries, which are sometimes considered as waste material, and produce this blended cement, which actually result in reducing approximately 400,000 tons of carbon dioxide emissions per annum, which is a huge contribution to improve the environmental impact. Also, we are in partnership with IUCN, do a very scientific rehabilitation of our quarries. You know, in the cement manufacturing process, we'll have to dig holes in the quarries to get into limestone, which requires a rehabilitation, which is a very tedious and scientific process. And we have the support of IUCN to do that and actually bring them back to the original status. In fact, it has been actually proven that the biodiversity of the rehabilitated areas are even better than its original status. So in addition, we do certain other things also. If you look at, especially in the south, where we also do have a plan, we do a coral rehabilitation. As you all know, there was a large scale destruction of corals. One is due to tsunami, the number two is due to various other human-made activities. So this is a very important biodiversity activity that we are doing in the southern part of the country, especially in Novatuna. And also we, since last year, started restoration of its mangroves in the Koggal area. Actually, it was started on the Environmental Day last year, and we continue to do that. As you all know, I also learned from others, the mangroves are the ecosystem which actually absorbs the highest amount of carbon dioxide in the world. So these are the few things that we actually do among a lot of other small initiatives to help the environment, which I would like to make you aware of all our activities. Also within our company, we always practice the concept of creating shared values across all functions, adding benefit to the local communities, local suppliers, customers, and all other stakeholders. Our passion for biodiversity protection is clearly reflected through these processes and initiatives we have in place to safeguard the balance of the ecosystem. One example is this mutually agreed collaboration. I think the previous speaker also mentioned, between us and Biodiversity Sri Lanka, together with BEEZ of the University of Colombo. We have been conducting panel discussions every year, celebrating the Environmental Day. Only year that we missed it, it was the last year. So if you look at the recognition part, actually these efforts of INSEE has been recognized by way of getting awards from the Presidential Environmental Awards 2019, organized by the Central Environmental Authority. I think some of you know that the INSEE Putlam cement plant and INSEE EcoCycle, where Sanjeeva is the head of the operations, won twin gold medals last year under the categories of chemical industries and waste management services, which is actually some of the evidence of recognizing our efforts to support the environmental protection. So concluding my remarks, I can also assure you in going forward, the INSEE is always committed to make our contribution to make this country a better place for the future generation and also for people to live. And accordingly, most fittingly, actually, we have chosen Build for Life as our corporate slogan in going forward. So which reflects a lot of commitment to the sustainability of the environmental aspects. So with that, I am again thanking the organizers for inviting me for the opening speech, and wish you all the very best, and wish you have a very interactive discussion in the next hour or so. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nandanaik, for sharing your thoughts on behalf of INSEE and why we do what we do in protecting our environment. And biodiversity conservation has been key for us over the 20 years, over the last 20 years, the work that we've been doing with IUCN and of course with Biodiversity Sri Lanka. So for the next introduction, on behalf of Biodiversity Sri Lanka, I would like to invite Mrs. Shirani Yasaratna, Advisor to Biodiversity Sri Lanka. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sudashini. Ayubowan, and good afternoon to all of you. It gives me great pleasure to be able to speak a few words at this very important webinar, which is organized by INSEE Cement together with the University of Colombo and Biodiversity Sri Lanka on a yearly basis. And even though we are in trying times, it's nice to see how technology and innovation has enabled this meeting to go forward. We are doubly happy that this year the theme for World Environment Day is biodiversity. And we indeed are celebrating biodiversity with our partners. The INSEE Cement is a patron member of Biodiversity Sri Lanka. For the benefit of our participants, I would like to inform you that Biodiversity Sri Lanka is a network of private sector partners who work together on environmental and biodiversity conservation issues. And we've been in existence for the last 5 years or so. So over these years, INSEE Cement, in fact, has been a very, very efficient and successful partner of Biodiversity Sri Lanka. And in fact, we have been engaged with the work that Mr. Nandana Ekanayaka spoke of in their quarry. And I must say that it's a great pleasure for us to be able to say that you are contributing to national biodiversity targets with the exemplary work that you are doing at the quarry site. So it also gives me pleasure to be able to work with a younger generation. The University of Colombo is an active partner of Biodiversity Sri Lanka. The BEEZ have been working with us for the last few years, and they also have a special degree that they teach on environment and biodiversity with business, which is really something that is very commendable. So in fact, we are very pleased to be able to be in on this webinar and also to be able to continue to be in partnership with all of you. So on behalf of Biodiversity Sri Lanka, the Board of Directors and also the Secretariat, I warmly welcome all the participants and wish the deliberations all success, and we will be with you throughout this 1 hour. Thank you, Sudashini.
Thank you, Mrs. Yasaratna. So without further ado, we will dive into the panel discussion that all of us have been momentarily waiting. We've got a lot of registrations, university students from Colombo, Jayawardhanapura, Ruhuna, Sabragamuwa, private universities, and also Jaffna, universities from Jaffna and Rajarata. All of the students we warmly welcome, and also the delegates from IUCN and corporates and other institutions who are here with us today. We have today with us 5 eminent speakers. I'd like to introduce the first speaker of the day, who would be touching upon the topic on the circular economy and biodiversity, Mr. Sanjeeva Chulakumara, who is director from INSEE EcoCycle Lanka. To give a brief introduction to Mr. Sanjeeva Chulakumara, he's obtained his BSc degree in chemistry, molecular biology, and biotechnology, computer economics and management from the University of Peradeniya in Sri Lanka. He's also obtained Master of Business Administration from Australian Institute of Business Administration. And he prides himself as a proud chartered member of Environmental Professional Sri Lanka. He's also a council member of Environment Professional in Sri Lanka. Today, Mr. Sanjeeva Chulakumara will talk to us about the circular economy approaches, how it is valuable for us in driving innovation in manufacturing processes, waste management, and consumption patterns. Not only that, on how it contributes towards biodiversity conservation. Sanjeeva, over to you.
Sudashini, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Sanjeeva.
Yeah. Ayubowan, good evening to everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity. The topic that I was given is too broad subject, but I'm not going to touch on more theory part, but I'm trying to give you and more practical aspects at INSEE to have a good engagement on this two topic. Let me start with this slide. And in the world, we have a lot of economic activities. We are using raw material and energy to get our product and services that we want. But ultimately, we are producing more and more waste, amounting next year 3.8 billion tons. And we have huge, consumption increase. And remember that this small, tiny microorganism COVID-19 has given us a lesson to see exactly what we are doing. So with that, so we have two paths of living or doing business, is linear economy or rather a circular economy. So what does it really mean, circular economy? Before that, let me explain the linear economy. In linear economy, you have simple take, make, dispose, and you get waste, waste, and waste. And where you use ample amount of natural resources and your technical and biological materials are really messed up, and you use most of renewable energies. So this is not suitable. So people were really thinking to move on circular economy. Simply, circular economy is a vast subject, but I want to give you a simple explanation for that. In this circular economy, you have your biological materials and technical materials separate, and you enrich your biological materials and you return your old technical materials and closing all the loops, and so that and also you're using a lot of renewable sources. So this is what exactly meaning of circular economy. So let me explain what INSEE is doing, business in the circular economy. And we, as our chairman explained very clearly, avoid landfilling, foster industrial symbiosis, and increase resource efficiency and resource circulations are our key priorities. At any organization, the top level engagement is the key to drive sustainability. At INSEE, you heard from our chairman, it's very clear. And also our chairman explained a bit of a cement manufacturing process. I will not go into details, but I want to highlight few areas, the quarry as well as the kiln, because I'm going to talk about much circular economy concept on these two areas and the biodiversity keeping the base. And in normal cement process, you get limestone and just heat it up to get clinker, and you then grind clinker to produce cement. And let me start with the quarry. Quarry being in Putlam, Arwakalu area, is very environmental sensitive area. You can see this Uruvi, Oraisa Nivara is a wild rice, and this area has been declared as environmental protected area. And also you can see the next slide, which is an Villu habitat in Setavillu area. It is a type of natural wetland. And also you can see the artificial wetland. And also look at the animal that we have in this, this environmental sensitive quarry. Our role in being responsible cement manufacturer, we are very focused on sustainable development effort in minimizing impact at biodiversity, especially in the quarry. Not only in the quarry, I will talk much on other supply, other value chain areas. And we have been, as explained previously, so we have been doing conservation of biodiversity at quarry. You can see the typical, this picture that you are seeing is the typical operation at quarry. Yes, we are disturbing natural environment, but we can't give it back. So our target is to give minimal impact to the environment. So you can see the same place with 1 year with quarry rehabilitation program. You can see the evidence. And also every year we have animal rescue and releasing program before we start the operation. You can see the number of animals that we have rescued and released. And also in our rehabilitated area, the other graph, you can see the richness of species, right? These areas are going towards the more naturality. So with that, let me go into details of the kiln. Why I'm talking in the kiln is to introduce the co-processing. Co-processing means that we are using cement kiln to dispose waste, right? And this technology is very much popular in other parts of the world. In Sri Lanka, we are the only integrated cement plant, so we only can do that. And this is exactly the circular economy forward-thinking example. And we are on industrial ecology, and we are going to use someone else's waste or byproduct into our operation, etc. And let me people are talking about waste burning, waste incineration, and co-processing. Let me quickly explain, because many people are misunderstood this area. You can see the waste incineration and waste co-processing in cement plants are completely two different concepts, right? And you can see if you are incinerating waste alone, you get carbon dioxide, SOx, NOx. And also if you are not doing waste management and cement kiln, you also emitting CO2, SOx, and NOx. But if you can combine this, you can see the amount of emissions reduced, as well as you can preserve the fossil fuel. So this is a very good technology to dispose waste in a circular economy ground. And also look at this picture. For last 17 years, we have disposed about 1 million tons of waste. It has many meanings. If this hazardous waste or non-hazardous waste are being in normal ecology, it has a lot of impact. And also these customers, we are trying to help them to, make their carbon footprint in sustainable manner. And as I explained, in co-processing, we are trying to get mineral recycling or energy recycling by using waste, so that cement kiln co-processing is a very successful case and a preferred solution in circular economy area. And look at this, 34% is the number that we have achieved last year on our thermal energy replacement from waste. This is a significant achievement, because we have a lot of, we are trying to give our customers a solution, and also we are trying to serve coal for future generation, and also we are trying to save our foreign cash, right? It has many meaning in a circular ground. And also I just wanted to touch you the biomass. In those days, when we started, maybe 17 years ago, the biomass have been dumping here and there, blocking the rivers and so and so. So we were able to give sustainable solution for this stream as well. And also, I want to touch a bit of the sensitive and hot topic. You can see the circular economy and the biodiversity are engaging each other, how ugly it is, right? And also you can see the base mountain that you can see in the city of Colombo. And also waste have been dumped, burned, knowing all the consequences like this. I am not going to go into details, dioxin and furan, the impact, etc. But we, being a responsible corporate citizen, INSEE EcoCycle was able to develop a sustainable solutions for municipal solid waste. This is non-recyclable, sorted municipal solid waste to a cement kiln co-processing, where we are trying to get energy from those waste. And also just to, we spoke about the energy, and we have two big solar dryers on our facility as a facilities to dry waste. This, we won the best corporate social responsibility award. And also let me just touch, Nandana, our CEO mentioned, in Putlam, we have two big companies, Norachole Power Plant and INSEE Cement. Norachole Power Plant run by coal. They burn coal, they get fly ash. And we went into research and innovation to produce, as our chairman said, the blended cement, and then we can use fly ash, and it's from that we have developed a product to use in a vigorous environmental condition. So this is a good example to an industrial symbiosis. Someone else byproduct is being incorporated into our product portfolio to have a superior environment-friendly product. And also this is my last area. We want to go beyond cement kiln co-processing in circular economy ground. And we have started resource circulation, resource recoveries. We have our own resource recovery center, especially we are targeting SDG number 12, responsible consumption and production. So I will not go into details here, but we really want to help in Sri Lankan, the nation and the industries, is to support recycling and upcycling. Like, these are our customers. Basically, what I want to tell you in finally, we are trying them to, keep their environment footprint in sustainable manner. And also we can use our cement facilities to develop some cement product by using waste, and also we can use byproduct, and we can use to dispose cement plant, and also now we have resource recoveries to promote more recycling and upcycling. Final message is we are very proud to serve top 100 corporate, most of top 100 corporate to support their sustainable goal. With that, let me conclude. Let me conclude the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sanjeeva. Thank you so much for your valuable thoughts in terms of combining technology, how we reduce dependency on fossil fuel, and how the cement kiln co-processing adds value to many other corporates in managing industrial waste. With that note, next speaker will touch upon the alternative cement solutions and how it contributes and how it is critical to the climate fight. Before moving on to the next speaker, I'd like to share a thought-provoking video with all of you. So that is to give you a flavor of what INSEE does when it comes to alternative cement solutions and innovation, and why we do what we do in challenging convention. So I'd like to invite our next panelist, Dr. Musa Balbaki, who is Head of Products and Portfolio, INSEE Cement Sri Lanka. To give an introduction to him, he holds a PhD in civil engineering from Sherbrooke University in Canada on the influence of the cement superplasticizer interaction on concrete properties. He started his profession in 1989 as a research engineer for the Industrial Chair on Concrete Technology and the Network of Center of Excellence on High Performance Concrete in Canada, and also joined Corporate Holcim Group Support in Switzerland in 1998. And has held several positions until 2017 in the area of R&D, open innovation, advanced concrete technology, and technology transfer. Since January 2018, we've had the honor of having Dr. Musa Balbaki working with us as Head of Products and Solutions Portfolio. Dr. Musa Balbaki, over to you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. It is still morning for me here. I'm sitting in Switzerland. Therefore, as you can see on my slide, I'm going to talk about a critical issue coming from the construction industry regarding climate change. Therefore, you can see on my slide, first slide, the famous Aletsch Glacier in the Swiss Alps. This is a UNESCO World Heritage site, and you see since 1979 how the retreat, how the ice is melting, and this is really due to the global somehow warming. Just to, before I start my presentation, you know, we were talking a little bit just before we start about the plastic issue. You know, it's a planetary problem. I always discuss with Sudha, and I told her, since I'm in Sri Lanka, I'm really a citizen, a free plastic citizen person, because I feel that, you know, I'm not waiting for government. I'm not waiting to nobody to tell me that, you know, I should take my own responsibility and be really somehow a citizen who can help really to, I say, to find solution for this, I say, big problem we have. The same, I'm working for industry, as well said by our chairman. That we are emitting more than 7% worldwide in terms of CO2. This is a contribution from the cement industry in terms of CO2 emission. Therefore, when we look more or less the societal, what is really needed for society, we have put here the mega trends. And those mega trends, you can see clearly that somehow they are driven by 5 mega trends. You know, the global population growth, this is somehow, it's a reality. Okay, today we are around 7 billion, soon will be almost 10 billion, but the implication of that is we are moving now from, when we look our villages, they become town become cities, cities become mega cities. And with a big rate of urbanization. Therefore, we expect even more than 2.5 billion on top of what we have today. People will live on big cities. Therefore, this is creating opportunity for growth and innovation for any nation. Okay, and when we look, for example, how we build our cities, you know, we need really to find a sustainable solution. Regarding carbon footprint, regarding material scarcity. I will focus on these 2 points on my presentation, but at the same time, when we look to digital transformation, for example, we see more and more now self-driving public bus. For example, this is in Berlin. When we look at UK, in 2030, no more even hybrid car. Everything should be, car should be with electrical engine. Better life of standards. We are all looking for more efficient technology. This is just an example from our company in Indonesia who developed for indoor climate solution, concrete thermal activation. Therefore, your slab is not only a slab that separates different floor, but it has another functionality. Okay, it can give you indoor climate as you would like to have it. Therefore, I would like to focus really on the solution for sustainable construction, because the time is very, very limited. And for that, you know, let's just have a look, for example, our challenges when you talk about mega cities. You know, Shanghai development within 30 years, you know. If you look Shanghai in 1990 and you look Shanghai somehow today, you see this island, how it was developed within 30 years. And if you look, for example, Sri Lanka will be the same. We have Port City project. 2020, this is a picture today as it is after all the reclamation land. And this is how it looks like in 2040. Therefore, we all agree that, that in front of us, we have challenges because we are developing our nations. When we look around us, our schools, our road, our university, our hospital, our house, our offices, they are all built with a very noble engineering material called concrete, you know, and concrete is built with cement, you know. And when we look, for example, over the last, let's say, more than after the, let's say, the Second World War, you see cement consumption is still going up and up, even though after several financial crises. Why? Because the population is growing. When we look, for example, just 2017, the world cement production is around 4.1 billion ton. And I will show you what means 4.1 billion ton. And most of that is really in our region. If I look China, if I look India, Asia Pacific, we represent more than 70% of the global cement production. And for every ton of this cement is the equivalent of ton of CO2 we are emitting if we continue to use old technology. Therefore, if I look implication for Sri Lanka today consumption, let's say average, I will say 5 to 6 million, okay, per year of ton of cement. And this is equivalent to 10 million cubic meter of concrete. Okay, 10 million cubic meter of concrete we need every year to build our nation. Therefore, when it comes, for example, to cement production, okay, it was well mentioned by our chairman. It was also mentioned by Sanjeeva that, you know, when we are producing our clinker, we are emitting for the same ton of clinker, we are emitting the same ton of CO2. Okay, from the calcination of the limestone and from the fuel needed to burn and to, to grind, you know. Therefore, for us, as me, as a civil engineer, for every ton of OPC, I will use the same ton of CO2 I'm emitting. Therefore, we need to find a solution for that. But at the same time, for every cubic meter of concrete, this is, for example, the impact, that is just, I show you here, okay, the unusual high temperature in Switzerland in 2019, okay, within 1 month, end of June to end of July, okay, from the glacier, okay, in the Alps of Switzerland, 800 million tons of ice and snow. And you see, compared to the Eiffel Tower, what that means. Therefore, the impact is huge for the climate. And at the same time, when we build concrete, we were discussing about just Sri Lanka. I just put the scale of our island, 10 million cubic meter of concrete. This is equivalent for every cubic meter, you have about 2 tons of aggregate of sand. This means this is 20 million tons every year, 20 million tons of natural resources we should take from the nature to build this, all the road, the house, whatever it is. You see, some country, for example, if I take the Burj Khalifa, 250,000 tons of sand was needed to build this Burj Khalifa. If I take the world of Dubai, about 300 million tons of sand need to be used. Therefore, this was all imported from Australia. But of course, in Sri Lanka, we are not at that position. Okay, therefore, we need to find a solution. And very often for the public perception, sand is an almost unlimited natural resources. And this is not exactly true 100%. And this has also a consequence. This scarcity of sand has a consequence with increasing media attention. This is planetary. Okay, we are facing this scarcity. If you go, you talk to our mason, you go to talk to our people who produce concrete, they will tell you today in Sri Lanka, if I take just the industrial segment, more than 90% today are producing concrete with not natural sand anymore. They go with alternative to natural sand. Therefore, if I look all this, the building have a very important ecological footprint. Okay, and unfortunately, we use these natural resources at a rate that cannot be sustained indefinitely. We need more than 4 times the planet we have today. If we continue, as Sanjeeva said, we need to move from this really linear economy where end product are waste to really a circular economy where this waste product can be turned to value-added product for other industries. Therefore, we need innovation for that. Therefore, the construction sector must really promote sustainable and performing solutions. We need to emit less CO2. We need to offer extended service life. Therefore, when I build a bridge, the purpose of building a bridge is not to have a concrete that link 2 points. Is to have a safe, okay, medium where people can cross from one part to another part, not for only 20 years or 40 years or 50 years, but for more than 100 years. That is economically viable and at the same time support overall commitment on sustainable development. And that is really not anymore, when I talk about sustainability, it's not anymore a choice. It's become now really somehow an obligation to really integrate a green technology, to think circularly, okay, that is not anymore a choice. It is really somehow an obligation. Therefore, if I take, for example, for our industry, what INSEE has done the last years, you know, we have turned waste or byproduct from other industry, okay, to really developing technology with superior quality of cement, what we call superior blended cement, for sustainable construction. For example, from power plant in North Chile, we have integrated fly ash to our product. From a pig iron industry, we have integrated blast furnace slag. And from our limestone quarry, we have integrated calcium carbonate. And thanks to those technology, if we are looking, for example, to our product, and we look at our product portfolio today, we have put in the market, you know, somehow product that are more responsible, that contain less CO2 footprint. And overall, if you look since just July 2017 to today, we have switched our portfolio, okay, from a purely OPC, high CO2 emitting portfolio to a more blended cement with less CO2 footprint. Like as our chairman said, that today more than 80% of our portfolio of product are blended cement. And this is really allowing us to save over 400,000 tons of CO2 every year. And what that means, 400,000 ton of CO2 for the general public, that means it's like what I'm saving in CO2 emission for 130,000 cool apartment of 80 square meter each, or what 65,000 average car driving 20,000 kilometers per year will emit in terms of CO2. And I mean that this is tremendous. If all the industry will follow such a kind of like integrate those technology, okay, in their solution development, I think that will be a very good extra mile we can do to protect our biodiversity and protect our environment. And on the other side, also we have seen technology also on, if I look construction demolition waste, you know, end of life of materials, you know, is one of the most interesting option by reducing the worldwide resource use and emission associated to building material sector. We talk about clinker, we talk about CO2, but let's go to, for example, demolition from construction industry, you know. And today, demolition company, they presently recover more than 85% of mass of a building, okay, and the concrete being the most important of this stream. Therefore, the old solution was that we go demolition, we break, and we use very often this as just low-grade product for road construction. But today there are technology called, for example, advanced dry recovery technology. They are patented, they are used in Europe, for example, in Netherlands, where we are able to separate, okay, this demolition waste to fine and coarse material, where we can reuse this fine material to produce cement, therefore emitting less CO2, or the coarse one, they go as recycled concrete aggregate that go to produce concrete. Therefore, we close the loop. Therefore, the end of life of those materials are not dumping, but are coming back to the circular economy with value added to produce cement and to produce concrete. Therefore, the other example is on our quarry operations. This is, for example, our quarry operation in Thailand, where there is a lot of slow-moving product from aggregate production. Therefore, we take this slow-moving product, I was talking about scarcity of natural sand, and we turn them to not low quality, let's say, a crush of fine or quarry dust, but we turn them to product, okay, that are more, some that bring value or solution for concrete production. And for that today, we can produce those products with less fines, better shape. I'm not going to talk too much on the technical part of it, but let us to produce concrete that are really of high quality, of high standard, that are really sustainable performing product. And for that also, there are a lot of new technology from the crusher type, for example, horizontal shaft impactor for finished product, or a vertical shaft impactor, where they are able to turn those slow-moving product or byproduct from quarry operation to beautiful sand that can replace easily a natural sand. Therefore, in this way, we can conserve, and we can, as I said, from the end of life of this product, we can recirculate them again with the right technology to give us indefinitely, you know, a solution to build the nation and to build our infrastructure. Therefore, we have even at INSEE developed concept, what we call our decision tree, to support all this technology by indicators that are input in a model to assure high quality of end product. Therefore, as a conclusion, I can say that we have exceeded the Earth's ability to support our lifestyles with the increasing consumption of primary raw material. Therefore, circular economy, it's really a must today. Besides the ecological importance, raw material energy are also the most important competitiveness factor for industry. This is why I say it's opportunity for INSEE, it's opportunity for cross-industry to take it very seriously and turn these challenges to opportunities. And the need of increasing recycling and improving the quality and homogeneity of recycled material to minimize environmental pollution and uses of resources is a topical subject for any nation. Therefore, we cannot miss the boat. I'm sure in Sri Lanka, with the high capability, best university, best engineers, okay, and most motivated people with the right mindset, our nation will really take these challenges for the advantage of Sri Lanka. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Musa. Thank you, Musa, for your thoughts and value additions in terms of how indefinite solutions builds nation and how INSEE looks at alternative cement solutions, not only locally, but then again, you gave us an insight into the global picture on how other countries are following as well. So next onto the panel, we have Mr. Roshan Salinda, who's project coordinator from Biodiversity Sri Lanka. He would talk about building business coalitions for biodiversity, on how businesses can strengthen the resilience of our ecosystem and support collective action to accelerate progress towards a more sustainable future. So giving introduction to Roshan holds his basic degree in commerce and postgraduate diploma in development economics from the University of Colombo. He carries over 8 years experience in designing, executing and monitoring a diverse portfolio of projects on various environmental and social development themes. Roshan, over to you.
Thank you, Sudashini. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks. On the topic, let me get on to the topic straight away. As we all know, all the businesses rely on biodiversity provisioning services as well as regulatory services. These services include food, fresh water, and climate regulation, flood control, likewise. And therefore, to ensure long-term survival of businesses, it is very important to ensure conservation of biodiversity. Actually, biodiversity conservation is a moral imperative. At the same time, it is also a bottom line strategy because a corporate's involvement in biodiversity helps to boost brand image, as well as it helps to generate brand loyalty among customers. This is very much evident, especially among younger generations. In a survey carried out in 2014 by the world famous Nielsen company, it was revealed that 67% of the global respondents are willing to pay extra for products from environmentally sensitive and sustainable type of companies. That is quite evident. And also on the topic of biodiversity, in 2016, University of Oxford in partnership with University of Kent did a study on corporate biodiversity. They actually assessed the sustainability reports of top 100 companies of Fortune 500 list in 2016. And they came up with some interesting findings. From the 100 companies, 49 of them mentioned about biodiversity in their corporate sustainability reports. And 31 of them had commitments. However, unfortunately, there were only 6 time-bound, science-based measurable targets. So only 6 companies had biodiversity targets. This is at the global level. But if you compare this commitment for biodiversity with corporate commitment for climate change, there is a huge gap, because you may already be aware for climate change, there are over 500 corporates have already committed, have already given targets in line with Paris Agreement. So even though there is a lesser commitment, the brighter side of the story is corporates are slowly realizing that environmental protection is not just about climate change. It is also something to do with preserving very important biodiversity as well. And then get into the matter of how a corporate can involve in biodiversity. They could either incorporate it into their core business operations. That is one way. And another way is they can implement conservation projects, external type of interventions, which is commonly known as CSR interventions. And to give some examples, for example, if it is a company in agricultural sector, they can invest in bee conservation, which will be directly beneficial to them. Also, if you are an insurance company, you can invest in protection of mangroves, coastal ecosystems, as it will help to protect, reduce damages from storms and floods. Also, pharmaceutical companies, they can invest in protection of plant species, which is directly beneficial to them. If you take plantation companies, they can invest in conservation of forest resources, conservation of water resources in their estates, which is directly beneficial to them. Also, I think that a company's involvement in biodiversity means that it has committed to other international environmental priorities as well. For example, the SDGs, because there are many SDGs that are linked to biodiversity. So that if corporates commit to biodiversity, which means that it also commit to other international development priorities. And on the topic of coalitions, what are the existing coalitions for biodiversity conservation? One very recent initiative was launched in 2019 by the French President Macron. It called One Planet Business for Biodiversity. And it was launched at the 2019 Climate Summit in New York. The objective of the coalition is to protect and restore biodiversity within supply chains and product portfolios of companies. With this initiative, leading companies like Nestle, Walmart, and Google and Unilever on board. And another initiative I can share with you is UNDP-led private sector facilitated Lion Share Fund, which is a very unique financial mechanism to fund conservation. How it works is whenever a corporate uses images or footages of animals or wilderness, they can make contribution to the fund. The fund will be managed and fund will be used for conservation work across the world. And also there is another coalition called Natural Capital Coalition. There are over 300 organizations on board with this Natural Capital Coalition, in which the objective is to enhance natural capital across the globe through cross-organizational learning. Also, there is another unique financial mechanism that is led by the famous financial company Goldman Sachs in partnership with the Conservation Fund. Actually, what they did was they issued green bonds worth of $150 million US. And as of 2019 November, by investing $75 million US, they protected 337 miles of streams and rivers, and they invested it in 5 projects across 128,000 acres and created economic impact worth of $87 million US. That you will see the scale of the impact. And I believe that these kind of innovative financial mechanisms helps to generate much needed finances for conservation. And speaking on the country context, the base document we have for biodiversity is NBSAP. Let me share my 2 slides on this. You can see, no?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah. Actually, NBSAP contains 5 strategic objectives, 12 national targets, and 87 actions. This was done for the period from 2016 and 2022. And BSL, as a network of member organizations, we did a survey to see how our members contributed to achieve the targets under NBSAP. And we found that our members have contributed from 196 different activities during the period from 2010 to 28, and that are clearly in line with 7 out of 12 targets of NBSAP. And now, yeah, just I'll share with you another fact that if Sri Lanka to fully implement this NBSAP plan, the country needs finances of 4 billion and 330 million Sri Lankan rupees. And of course, it is very much clear that Sri Lankan government couldn't afford it alone. Therefore, there is space for private sector, and there is space for innovative financial mechanisms. And now we as the BSL are trying to expand this survey into larger private sector of Sri Lanka, and we are trying to collect as much as information on how and what types of interventions being carried out by private sector in Sri Lanka in terms of environmental conservation. At the end of this exercise, we will be able to say that Sri Lankan private sector have contributed from X amount of money for conservation in Sri Lanka. And also we will be able to say the nature and types of interventions as well as the impact generated by the private sector through their interventions. And another initiative of BSL is our LIFE project. I think INSEE is also a partner of that. The beauty of this project is we have 10 partners on board, and you might see that some of them are competing in the corporate world. But the beauty of this is they are cooperating with the project. They are cooperating for a common objective, which is to restore degraded 10-hectare land located in Kanneliya. And to summarize my presentation, I have 3 conclusive points. First one is to raise a unified voice, reach the scale and create the much needed impact required. A collective approach for biodiversity conservation is essential. And the second point is to generate much needed finance for conservation, innovative instruments need to be developed. And the last point is to create transformational corporate change for conservation, setting up science-based, monitorable, time-bound corporate biodiversity targets is essential. Thank you.
Thank you, Roshan. Thank you for your thoughts on that. You put forward certain specific points as to how time-bound measurable targets and corporate commitments for climate change, how some more commitments we are expecting, and the gap in the industry in protecting the biodiversity and what we could do more. So with the interest of time, since we have only 25 minutes left until the presentation, the meeting, the webinar is closed, I'd like to invite Anusha Jagadishan, who is a final year student following environmental science degree in the Department of Zoology and Environmental Science in Faculty of Science, University of Colombo. She's also the secretary of Base for Enthusiasts of Environment Science and Zoology BEEZ. Anusha Jagadishan will talk about the role of biodiversity in people's lives. Anusha, over to you.
Thank you, Sudarshini. So biodiversity is a web of life. Everything we see in our natural environment is biodiversity. It is interwovenly built on these three concepts. Not only species are so diverse, they are also genetically diverse. And also the ecosystems they come from and they make are also different. Our ancestors had the perfect balance established with nature, but with our reckless behavior for decades and decades of long years of exploitation and all those practices have tipped the scale, and now we are left in this pandemic situation. So this pandemic situation alone shows it's a wake-up call to all of us. It shows how far humans have violated and neglected the laws of nature and the science behind it. In fact, we are in the sixth mass extinction, that is the Anthropocene, where the current extinction rate is about 100 to 10,000 times too high than the natural extinction events. It goes without saying the escalating human-wildlife conflicts that is increasing in numbers day by day around the world. Even in Sri Lanka, we have human-elephant conflicts, human-leopard conflicts that is increasing daily. So that brings me to the point why conservation is all the more important. So conservation, so far we have had so many stories of success and failures. But these conservation measures, they were always more inclined towards large charismatic species, which is, I would say, is unfair. So there are a lot of invertebrates which play a pivotal role in the ecosystem. So regardless of size and charisma, all the organisms, all the species have equal chances of being conserved, because every organism, every species play a main role in maintaining an ecosystem, in its stability and in balance. So how can we get more involved when it comes to celebrating biodiversity and when conservation in its place? So part of education, in university education, we learn so many tools of environmental management, environmental journalism. Basically, we are given the environmental education and awareness. But that only in our minds is not enough. We should take this message across to the societies, to the local communities, and especially to the school children who are the future of our country. So these pictures show a few instances when we imparted our knowledge on biodiversity, wildlife, and conservation to these school children. Community participation, may it be in your local vicinity or immediate neighborhood, your district or province, if the community is getting together to partake in a situation that defines environmental crisis, make use of that opportunity, join hands with them, because together as a community, when you involve in such tasks, it instills upon the community the importance of having an environment which is not only ambient but also healthy, and will make them more aware the next time they do such activities which could cause harm to their environment. Volunteering programs, make yourself available, invest your time and energy in volunteering programs, because it does not only develops ourselves, it gives us happiness, contentment, and also develops our environment. So this is one instance when BEEZ actively volunteered in a nationwide tree planting campaign, spreading the greenery around our country. And also social media and media organizations, they serve as powerful tools of environmental journalism. An incident occurring in one corner of the world can be disseminated to a wide range of audience throughout the world. So that the right word put on the right platform could bring out a good cause in so many different ways. So it all depends on how we use them. Voicing opinions and suggestions at the right place and time. There are lots of green movements and grassroots organizations out there sprouting up every day, gaining momentum day by day. Of course, how are they gaining momentum? It is through people's support and their people's voices. So if you have the time and if you feel like you could lend a hand, join with them and voice your opinions and suggestions, because it will never go unnoticed. The use of technology for our benefit. Currently around the world, artificial intelligence is being trained to identify species, to monitor their numbers. That has in fact taken conservation to a whole new level. And we also have these drones through which we can get an aerial view of our landscape, through which we can actually monitor protected areas and prevent illegal activities like poaching and illegal logging. The choice of eco-friendly goods, it really does come down to our choices. For example, if we choose this cloth bag over a plastic bag, that same choice on the minds of 7 billion people of our planet can really turn around the situation, can really make the earth a better place to live. It's not only our choices, it's also our sustainability practices. Before buying something, ask yourself, do you really need to buy that thing? That being said, I would now like to quote the words of Kira Simpson. We can sit back, do nothing, and watch our planet be destroyed. Or we can take action, become advocates, and start making lifestyle choices which are kinder to people and the planet. Thank you. Over to you, Sudarshan.
Thank you, Anusha. Thank you for your inspirational quote and how as students and as young leaders of tomorrow, you all can contribute and inspire into bringing this difference to protect our nature by choice. Thank you for your valuable thoughts. With that, we'll move to our last panelist, Dr. Ananda Mallavatantri, who is here with us today. He will talk about our solutions are in nature. Dr. Ananda Mallavatantri is country representative of IUCN in Sri Lanka. He holds a Bachelor of Science Special Degree in Chemistry from University of Colombo and a doctorate in soil physics, as well as a Master of Science in Environmental Science from Washington State University, USA. He is a Sri Lankan who's with more than 30 years of experience in project management, research consulting, industrial process, and university teaching. Before joining IUCN, Dr. Mallavatantri has served as Assistant Country Director and Team Leader for Environmental Sustainability and Disaster Resilience at the UNDP Sri Lanka office. Dr. Ananda Mallavatantri, over to you.
Thank you, Sudarshini. Good evening, everyone. I will try to go a little faster because we are at the tail end of the program. We all know that nature is very important and it provides us life, the clean air, oxygen, water, energy, and everything. Now we are asking the nature solutions. We are again, after hammering the nature quite a bit, now we are asking the nature solutions. What are these nature solutions? The definition says that sustainable management and use of nature for tackling socio-economic environmental challenges. Meaning like, how can we find solutions connected to our challenges of climate change, water security, water pollution, food security, health, disaster management? How do you mix the nature? One thing is for sure, you cannot find 100% solutions alone with the nature solutions. We need to come back with the innovation and mix with the engineering, mix with the newer emerging technologies, and we can combine and get the best out of all the available aspects, but the nature solutions provide a sound base. Now, for example, we know by working with the nature solutions, probably you can find more efficient, competitive. Competitive in the means like, if you are reaching the global marketplace, the more you mix with nature solutions, you are becoming more competitive and you are working more towards the green economy. You can create new jobs and get into new manufacturing processes. But there are a couple of things that you need to be successful. One is understanding the nature processes, starting from the simple water cycle, how the water moves, how the rain gets captured to the water flow and all the details and how it gets contaminated, what kind of contaminations, what kind of quantification. How do you quantify? Because if you cannot measure, you cannot manage. So we need all kind of now I think new mechanisms that are available to us from the satellites to everything else to get this quantified information. And then there's an important part, buy from all parties, from the political side to the scientist to the community. If you don't have the buy-in, then it's very difficult to implement nature solutions. So when it comes to understanding quantified, I'll just give one example that we will be entering into very soon, and we have already entered the Hambantota. Hambantota, we have the nature around. In the north, we have the elephants, south, we have the mammals, in the east, we have the birds and the wildlife, and the west, we have the Rumasala, Carnelia, and all that. So what's the carrying capacity in that particular area? How much nature solutions we can, how much the environmental processes understanding we can incorporate to make the Hambantota economic development successful. So these are the type of challenges probably as Sri Lankans we might be entering into. We can mix the modern technologies and we can mix the traditional knowledge. In Sri Lanka, we have a lot of traditional knowledge. When it comes to agriculture, the varieties, how to manage the low input farming, all that has a lot of traditional inputs. We can mix the modern science. Then comes to the policies. The policy aspect is very important because you could do a lot of assessments, you could do a lot of models, but if you don't get mainstream into the policy, if the national budgeting scheme doesn't change to provide the right incentives, I think we are having a challenging situation, especially now we know waste management. But when you look back, there's one area that we are not very strong in implementing nature solutions. That is area is called natural capital accounting. Natural capital accounting is tried by the Ministry of Environment some time back, but it has come to a lot of new advances that we are in a very good place to apply, where you bring all the sectors that are benefits from the solutions, and then come up with mechanisms where you share the benefits, bring the incentives, the tax credits, and all that. So at the end of the day, the nature and people wins. I think we are very fortunate. We have Biodiversity Secretariat for the ministry, and we have the Biodiversity Sri Lanka, and we have a lot of private sector now taking the lead and getting into this very actively. So I think we are on a very good wicket. Traditionally, from tank cascade dates, we have been doing nature solutions. Now, the adoption of tea into the hill country is one of the nature solutions, one of the least eroding crops. But we are doing a lot of bad things in the hill slopes by adding different crop types. So there are a lot of things that we can do. And then the circular economy, I think I'm not going to talk. There's a lot that our private companies are taking. And then the nature solutions can find several big ones also. Now I would cite a few examples. One is, for me, food security, energy, and water. Those are the Sri Lanka's three big ones. If you get to energy, now we have 5,000 megawatts of wind energy easily harvested, but we cannot get them to the grid because of the instability, but we can harvest it. And we know in Germany there are hydrogen powered trains. In Aberdeen, there are buses running. There are a lot of decentralized systems combined with fuel cell technology now. I think we could go a long way using the nature through the wind to address a lot of things in the power sector and the transport sector. And in the human-wildlife conflict, if you adapt to the nature solutions, we can find good solutions to this problem. And the climate change, again, there are a lot of adaptation solutions coming through nature. Coming to private sector, it's my last bit. The private sector can enter into different levels into this nature solutions usage. One is at the firm level. I think Sanjeev tried this: energy, water, and chemical efficiency. At the staff level, education, awareness, they are good messengers to take the messages to the homes, the colleagues, and the communities. Now, Biodiversity Sri Lanka has a whole list of best practices developed several years back on adapting some of the best practices. And then there are new initiatives emerging, like in the insurance industry, healthy parks, healthy people. You take people to the nature, then your insurance cost goes down, you save, but at the same time, people's quality of life goes up. The industry university partnerships, there are a lot of things that you could do to promote nature solutions on using the universities. And I think we heard what university is doing, but we could promote them to do much more and then facilitate. Now, one example is in Hawaii. I know if the university is protecting the nature, there are incentive money coming to the university to do more research, to send the students to exchange programs and all that. So urban greening, another area the private sector can come big. But there's one thing, private sector shouldn't do anything that doesn't relate to them. Because whatever investments, I think we are coming out of the CSR world now. We are on the sustainability world. So the strategies of the private sector should build in these sustainable elements, adapting resilience measures to the business strategies so that you minimize the external shocks like what we just saw in COVID-19. Green the supply chain management, making the chains efficient, train the staff to be responsible, and promote natural capital accounting within the systems also, so that when you do good things, you can highlight it in numbers. Then the last point, mostly in the financial sector, green and blue bonds. To simply say what they are, you make a promise. You say, okay, we'll make this whole Rio Basin clean. And then you create a bond. People subscribe. Then you start earning interest on one hand, operating money, at the same time aiming at a good cause. So I think in Sri Lanka, we can find tons of good causes to make our rivers live, have the coast as natural as possible, make our cities resilient. And then I think there are a lot of innovative options we can start finding in that area. So with the limited time, thank you so much for INSEE. Thank you for Biodiversity Sri Lanka for creating this discussion. Thanks again.
Thank you, Dr. Ananda. You gave a great insight as to how the companies should align not the CSR, but the CSV, that the current sustainability development approach that we talk about, how we create shared value throughout the value chain. And you also brought a valid point in terms of implementing natural capital accounting, how the gap that we have, and how the students of today who are also attendees of today's webinar can contribute to these gaps and minimize gaps. So it's the ball is in their court now, because they are the young leaders, and we had Anusha Jagatishan representing the student from the science faculty, adding value, her thoughts, her inspirational thoughts in terms of how they see as a matter of choice in terms of promoting sustainability. So with the interest of the time now, we couldn't open the forum for question and answer today, because automatically the webinar will get seized at 5:30 in about another 6 minutes. I'd like to summarize of what Sanjeeva talked about in terms of circular economy, and then biodiversity contribution, the conservation that from eco-cycle, not only waste management, but also the cement solutions that we touch upon. And we have in our Q&A a lot of questions about how the OP's more blended cement portfolio would contribute than the OPC, and even questions asking about the cost and everything, how it would add value for a customer or a person, end person. We would be answering all your questions through our email communication. We will be reaching out to you, and we had Roshan talking about how the private sector companies build a coalition and the kind of work that they do in terms of biodiversity and environment protection. And Anusha giving a high note on how a matter of choice and how students should come forward in taking the right choice. And in the end, Dr. Anand pointed out the policy level gaps and the frameworks that we need to mitigate and, you know, come forward. And together, we should act for nature. It's not a single person, it's not a single corporate. This collaborative initiative is one such example that together, the younger generation and the academics like delegates and who are experienced from IUCN and Biodiversity Sri Lanka get together with private sector in promoting the culture forward. So thank you, all of you. Thank you to all our participants today. And also the panelist, Ms. Shirani is also there with us. Thank you, Ms. Shirani. Any last words? We have 4 minutes left. Any last words if you would like to add?
Well, I think the one I wanted to add was that we will definitely respond to the questions via email. So do send the ones relevant to us, and we will be sure that we will send the answers across to the interested participants.
Yes, and also you can write to us to incecement.communications@siamcitycement.com. We have live streamed this video on YouTube and Facebook. We will share the we recorded video as well so that you can listen to it and share with all your friends, family and colleagues, and ask related questions, hashtag ask INSEE, hashtag ask IUCN, hashtag ask BSL, which is a very shorter version of finding using the technology trends these days. So you can post your questions with a hashtag. It will be easier to us for us to reach you as well. So do join us, follow us on our social media pages, and we will reach out to you. Thank you to all of you, and thank you to our panelists.
Thank you very much, Darshini.